Fala aí pessoal, tudo beleza com vocês? Aqui é o Bolinho. Estou aqui com o Rayokarna, que é o líder de organização do NGI. A NGI é um dos organizadores de eventos aqui da União Europeia e do Reino Unido em específico. Foi eles que fizeram o primeiro torneio do Arctic World Tour mundialmente. Então daqui que eu vou conversar com eles sobre como é que é os torneios e tal, fazer uma entrevista, perguntando como é essa parte dos torneios nos jogos de luta. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, a gente vai começar então, como ele não fala português, eu vou primeiro falar qual é a pergunta em português, depois eu vou perguntar para ele em inglês, aí ele responder em inglês e eu traduz para português.
So, that much I got.
Alright. So, primeira pergunta, pode falar mais sobre a NGI e edição? So, can you tell us more about NGI?
So NGI, to give you a bit of context, NGI actually started in Nando's when a bunch of us wanted to do games for community games, just in general. So it had nothing to do with fighting games at the time actually at all. So what we started off with was portable games, so stuff like Monster Hunter and Mario Kart and all that sort of stuff. So basically games that we could go around and play like with friends and stuff, because that's what was popular at the time with us lot. And then what happened was that when we ended up joining sessions with Frost, when he used to do his London training grounds, and we eventually started moving into fighting games. Basically, we worked on the same team, so we worked on multiple projects together at that point. And I think NGI just grew from that. So most of us know us for our fighting game stuff, but we also do stuff like music game events and portable game events and gatherings and stuff, and other little bits of nonsense that are completely pointless, but we do it anyway. So. Yeah.
Então, eles começaram num restaurante, aí eles no começo não eram focados em jogos de luta, faziam outros tipos de eventos, tipo Monster Hunter, Mario Party, e eventualmente começaram a ter um interesse em fazer uns encontros de jogos de luta para treinamento e tal. E eles não fazem apenas jogos de luta, também tem alguns jogos de música, que eles fazem encontros de jogos de músicas e por aí vai. E foram crescendo a partir daí. Então começou com uma coisa mais de outros jogos e acabou se focando mais em jogos de luta eventualmente. Segunda pergunta é como é que é organizar torneios na Inglaterra e na Europa? So, what's like doing TOing on UK and Europe?
I don't think it's too much different from anywhere else actually. It's really difficult for me to say because I don't have the same personal experiences than a lot of other major TOs, because Revo itself is not that super. Revo itself, in context to a lot of the other European events like the Mix-Up and Brussels Challenge Major, and even Headstomper in relation and like a lot of other tournaments, it doesn't have that same popularity because we don't have as many people. And even SFF only has like probably like what 90-ish odd people over the weekend. Revo, the highest Revo's ever had is 270, but that's the same year that we ran Tekken as well. Last year we had 240, but yeah, it doesn't have the same sort of impact as other European events. But in terms of TOing in Europe, I don't feel it's anything special. Revo's in a bit of a special case though, because it's not really reliant as in it's not like tour events and stuff are not really important because it's not the core. It's never been a important aspect of the event to keep going, even since these tour events have started with the Tekken World Tour and the CPT and stuff. So I think it's pretty bog standard. I think the only thing that throws people up, I think the only thing that's worth noting is that you don't get as many people outside of Europe go to our events, sort of thing, compared to like US events. So not because it's not open to them, it's just because people don't really feel it's necessary to travel to Europe. So, if that makes sense.
Então, ele meio que falou que tipo, não é muito diferente de outros cantos do mundo, mas no caso os torneios que a NGA faz não tem tantos participantes quanto em outros torneios tipo Brussels Challenge, Mix-Up. Então é um pouco diferente como eles fazem, que tipo, não é tão corrido quanto esses torneios. E falando que no geral assim da Europa tem o Capcom Pro Tour e Tekken World Tour, que eles não fazem muito parte desses torneios, que tipo, e o Revolution também tem tanto comigo quanto esse. Porque fala que no geral assim, tipo, uma das diferenças entre Estados Unidos e Europa é que o pessoal costuma viajar bastante para torneios dos Estados Unidos, mas não tanto para a Europa, porque tipo, eles sentem que não tem muito essa vontade das pessoas de conhecerem a Europa comparado com ir para os Estados Unidos no torneio. Então, a próxima pergunta é como eles conseguem fazer tantos torneios e vários jogos diferentes em um final de semana só? Porque, por exemplo, o torneio que está tendo aqui agora são 10 jogos diferentes que estão correndo. How do you guys are able to do tournaments for so many games a single weekend? Like for example, Sakura Fight Festa has 10 games right now. So how are you guys able to do so many events?
It's actually pretty easy actually. Fury is basically the absolute boss man when it comes to TOing. He's so good at it. And to be honest with you, like, we don't usually, whenever we have problems with overrunning, that's usually due to external forces, like something wrong with the venue or the stream's dying or something. We don't actually ever have problems overrunning. And to be honest with you, we always balance it out with bigger games with small games. So obviously stuff like Tekken and Soul Calibur are the bigger games of the 4 that we had today. But because we've sort of split it up appropriately, you get a good balance of like VF5 and DOA complements Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur, so it's not really so much of a big deal. And it's the same thing with tomorrow. You got Blaze Blue, CF, BB Tag, and Guilty Gear, and to compensate that for that, you got Million Alpha, and Fighting EX Slayer. Actually, I guess you say Unis is probably bigger than BBCF at the moment, so you can sort of swap those rounds. So yeah, it's never really been too much of an issue actually. Like,
no caso, então, a gente falou tipo, que fazer vários torneios, assim, vários jogos uma vez só não é difícil, na verdade é bem fácil. E tem um dos organizadores deles, que é o Firei, ele é muito bom em organizar as brackets e por aí vai. E ele falou que uma coisa que é bem interessante, que no caso eles colocam jogos grandes junto com jogos pequenos, meio que para balancear. Que, por exemplo, hoje tinha o Tekken e Soul Calibur, que são os maiores jogos do 3D, que tem mais gente jogando e tal. E para balancear, botaram o Virtua Fighter e o Dead Alive correndo no mesmo tempo que tava, em vez de correr os Soul Calibur e Tekken ao mesmo tempo, eles botaram tipo o Soul Calibur, ao mesmo tempo que rodava o Virtua Fighter e o Tekken ao mesmo tempo que rodava o Dead Alive, também que balanceava. E eles nunca tiveram muitos problemas assim para organização de tempo, para demorar muito tempo para acabar os torneios ou coisa do tipo. E que nem, por exemplo, amanhã, que vão ser mais jogos, são 6 jogos diferentes. Tem o BlazBlue Cross Tech Battle, Unis, o Million Arto. Então, meio que para balancear, eles põem primeiro o BlazBlue Cross Tech Battle, junto com o Million Arto, que tem menos jogadores, e vai balanceando assim a quantidade de setups e tempo de stream e por aí vai. Então, próxima pergunta. O que vocês acham sobre a FGC na Europa no momento? What do you think about the FGC on Europe right now?
boy, there is a lot to say and not enough to say at the same time. Oh man. Are you talking about the fighting game community as a whole, or is it also TOing as well?
As a whole, like
okay.
Players, tournaments, pro tours, etc.
Right. To be honest with you, like it's an interesting conversation because like I speak to other TOs about this. TOing, the communities in Europe are cool. Like seeing people being able to travel to seeing big events is amazing, and I think there always needs to be more of that. But the thing is that what can't happen, it can't oversaturate, because if you oversaturate, you have issues where people get burnt out too quickly. The players are a lot more willing to travel now because stuff like Tekken World Tour points and CPT points are really important to people. So people are just like, oh, I've got to travel, got to get there. But as a TO, I've seen it happen to others where they're struggling with dealing with the concepts of tours, because a lot of TOs are becoming a lot more reliant on being a part of the CPT, being a part of the Tekken World Tour, and being able to pull those numbers to justify the bigger venue costs, the more cost of production and stuff. And a lot of the TOing, they don't want to, a lot of the TOs, they feel that if their event has to come moved backwards, it's a failure. When I feel that, especially with everything getting much more expensive these days, there's nothing wrong with taking a step back, or either stagnating for a year or pulling it back a year if you feel that it's absolutely necessary for your event to be a tour event to be anything near viable or worth it. Unless if you're doing it for the love of it, then it's different, because it doesn't matter how much money you spend. But if it's expensive, which a lot of these TOs are struggling with, a lot of the TOs are like, oh man, it costs a lot to get this venue and stuff, but we have to get a tour event to like justify getting this venue and stuff. And I think that's when the events in Europe start to struggle in the long term because there's no plan for that sort of thing. And I think while the tours and stuff is good for players, it's really good for players because now people are getting paid. There's now more rewards for performing and stuff like that. I don't think there is enough support for the TOs in Europe, especially in Europe, to keep going with the way they're going. And the thing is that it's like a bubble that will burst eventually. And I think that's what worries me as a TO, because personally for me, nothing really changes. My budget for each event is relatively the same, which I'll say is about £4,000, and all of it pays for itself in entry fees. So that covers venue fee, staff, food, everything. £4,000 flat forever. And compared to most other events in Europe, that is ridiculously cheap, like super cheap. But I don't have to cover stuff like Street Fighter 5 and Tekken, so it's not the same. But a lot of people's TOs, I've seen them, their price gone up at least 2 or 3 times the cost per year. And it's worrying because if those events go down, whole communities lose a large event. And I wish there wasn't such a dependency on tour events, basically. That's how I feel anyway.
So there's a lot to translate.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. Tem bastante coisa para traduzir, então eu tava devagar e tentar manter ainda sem tirar do contexto. Em termos de jogadores, ele acha que é bom que o pessoal tá viajando mais, tá vindo mais para torneios. E em parte disso é por causa das turnês mundiais. O pessoal fala, Capcom Pro Tour, então vou participar desse torneio. Tecmo Tour, vou participar desse torneio. Então ele acha bom isso, mas ao mesmo tempo tem tanto torneio que o pessoal tá começando a ficar saturado de eventos para ir. E então fica mais difícil de gastar muito dinheiro e por aí vai, mas é bom que o pessoal esteja vindo. Em termos de organizadores de torneios, tem bastante para lembrar no começo. You started saying, what was the first thing you said about the tournament?
What is in the tournaments with the tours related to the tours, or just the tournaments in general?
No, the first thing that you said. I forgot what was the first.
I think tournaments themselves have been really big. Is really nice.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it basically.
Então ele acha que os torneios estão crescendo, estão ficando é bom que tenha mais torneios, está crescendo bastante. Só que ele vê um problema de que tipo, os organizadores eles querem fazer parte da Capcom Pro Tour, Tecmo World Tour, então eles têm que manter os torneios deles um padrão alto de qualidade. Tem que ter um local bom, um espaço bom, e que vários organizadores eles sentem como se, tipo, se eles tivessem que no ano seguinte não tem muito dinheiro, tiver que diminuir o tamanho do evento, ou alugar um local menor ou por aí vai, que é como se fosse algo ruim, como se estivesse retrocedendo, assim, nem necessariamente é o caso. E tem muitos organizadores de torneios que estão tentando fazer parte das tours para trazer gente, para justificar os espaços que eles alugam. Então, por exemplo, que quando faz parte de uma Capcom Pro Tour, um Tecmo Tour, mais gente quer participar. Então, mais gente comparece e ganha mais dinheiro e com isso tem como comprar um espaço maior. Ele já viu alguns torneios, por exemplo, no ano seguinte, tipo, gastando 2 ou 3 vezes mais do que no ano anterior, mas que ele acha que isso é um problema porque estão fazendo bastante pelos jogadores, das Pro Tours são bons pelos jogadores, está fazendo dinheiro dos jogadores, os pontos, por aí vai, mas que não está tendo muito, está sendo feito para ajudar os TOs a manter o nível mesmo de padrão, assim, de qualidade alta para os torneios. E eu quero fazer uma pergunta extra quanto a isso, na verdade. Gonna ask another extra question, because
that's fine.
O que ele acha? Ele acha que as empresas, com as turnês e tal, estão fazendo o suficiente para ajudar os organizadores de torneios? So, do you think that the World Tours and the companies that supporting the events, do you think they are doing enough to support the events, to support the TOs? Like they're doing a lot of support to the players, but do you think they're doing enough for support the TOs?
I don't think there's not enough support for TOs at all. The problem is that you got these events that have massive expectations, and the thing is that because of the expectations that the players have, because of the expectation that players have of these events to be a certain way, to be this grand spectacle, to be this size, TOs feel that they need to match that. And the thing is that you could take it by the and the reason why it's given that sort of label is because of the labels given to it by like your Bandai Namco's and your Capcom, saying this is a premier event, this is the event to be, blah blah blah. And I think in the US it's not so bad. In America it's not so bad. I think they get a bit more support and it's easier for them to do everything. But in Europe I think they could do a lot more whether it be financial support or it could be actually I think it's mostly when it comes down to financial support, considering that event costs and stuff are so much higher in Europe in general, and other bits and pieces. It's tough. So I think more financial support for those events I think will be really important, and I think it will mean a lot more to the TOs, and I think it will mean that a lot more events. That means as a TO, you could concentrate so much more on how good your event is, rather than have I spent enough money to justify these people coming so I could break even, sort of thing, if you get what I mean.
Ok. Então ele falou que tipo, ele acha que não tem um apoio muito grande das empresas. Porque ele fala que tipo, talvez nos Estados Unidos ele acha que tem um apoio maior, mas aqui na Europa um grande problema é que tipo, as pessoas têm expectativa como vai ser um torneio que você fala que acaba com o Pro Tour ou Tekken World Tour, as pessoas têm expectativa que aquele torneio que é aí, aquele torneio que você quer participar e que eles têm uma visão de que vai ser algo grande. E os organizadores, eles acabam tendo que entregar isso, senão as pessoas acabam decepcionadas e tal. E que, tipo, o apoio financeiro que as empresas dão para os organizadores de torneios não é muito grande. Tipo, não tem um apoio muito importante, assim, de darem bastante dinheiro para poder organizar o evento. Então, os organizadores passam muito tempo pensando mais em será que eu vou ter dinheiro bastante para justificar o gasto que eu estou dando? Será que eu vou ter lucro suficiente para justificar o gasto que eu estou tendo, para poder pagar as despesas e tal? Do que em fazer mesmo um torneio bom. Porque, por exemplo, se eles tivessem mais suporte financeiro das empresas, poderiam gastar mais tempo pensando em como melhorar o evento do que se eles vão conseguir pagar o evento em si. A próxima pergunta é que a NGI, o primeiro torneio da Arcade World Tour foi feito por eles, que era o Revolution. E eu ia perguntar como é que foi a experiência trabalhando no Parque System Works. So, you hosted the first tournament of the Arcade World Tour worldwide. How was the experience working with System Works on it?
It was enjoyable, but it was really hard. Because actually, to be honest with you, we didn't actually work so much with Arc System Works. We worked a lot with PQ. Like when I mean worked a lot with PQ, 3 phone calls a week, sometimes 5 phone calls a week, 1 every day. And the thing is that there was a lot of information was up in the air, and not everyone had the information all in one place, and it made it really difficult. What was difficult was making sure that everyone had the right information, but because of the way time zones work, and there's so much other stuff that's involved, as in that between the different. So like the Japanese lot will say one thing, and then you get that information through. Then the American side will say one thing, and then you're like, okay, wait, hold on a minute, that doesn't make sense because Japanese lot said this and stuff. It got really confusing, and shout outs to PQ because they decoded a lot of it, and they tried so hard to make it as smooth as possible and stuff. And they were like, do you need any? If there's anything that we needed and stuff, they provided us help and stuff. They supported us events basically with consoles, helped with the venue and all this sort of stuff.
And the venue part was actually important.
Yeah, the venue stuff. There's such a big story behind that venue. I actually say that as my final words, but I'll get back to that later.
Okay.
But overall, it was mostly working with PQ, and they did a lot because a lot of people in the situation was because it's the first event and stuff like that. There wasn't much information going around. Not many of the rules were finalized at the time. So, for example, BB tag was 2 out of 3 at Revo. When then, as soon as Revo was over, they were like, actually now it's 3 out of 5. And it's a lot of like stuff like that because we were originally told that if it's 3 out of 5, it would invalidate the tournament because it's not the official rules. And then as soon as the tournament was over, because one of our biggest complaints tournament-wise was the fact that why is it not 3 out of 5? And then as soon as Revo was over, they were like, okay, it's 3 out of 5. And we were like, well, okay. Whatever. So, yeah, it was fun because we've never had a tour event at Revo because we don't really deal with those sort of games. So it was fun, but it was very difficult, especially because it was a lot of communication in a very short period of time. And when I mean a short period of time, I mean about 3-4 weeks, and it's a lot. So, and the thing is, it makes it really difficult for the players because none of the players coming from abroad knew what they were getting. No one knew who qualified, how they qualified, how the points worked. can people from Japan qualify from Europe? Can people from America qualify from Europe? It was crazy.
I actually remember, like, when I was playing, when I told one place that was from Brazil, he actually asked me, "What are you doing here? You cannot get any of the points." Like,
Exactly, but when the rules fully came out, like the week after Revo, they were like, yeah, people could earn points from anywhere, and it's like, well, why is that not there in the first place? Keep in mind, this is everything I say is that this is not P-Cube's fault, because they did the best they can with information. Because at the end of the day, they work as a subsidiary, so they work with what they can in Europe, and they're only given the information that they get is the same information that we get on, like, for example, if Arc System Works make an announcement on Twitter, that's when all of us find out, sort of thing. So it's never a sort of situation where we were withheld information from them. They did literally, they held our hand through as much of the process as possible, because for them, they were also learning this process, because they've had to go through the same thing with Brussels Challenge, and they've done the same thing today with Head Stomper as well. But since after going everything with Revo, they're like, all right, we know what to expect. So, yeah.
Então, o que ele falou, na verdade, foi bem divertido, mas também foi muito difícil. E, na verdade, eles trabalharam mais próximo da P-Cube, que é a distribuidora dos jogos da Arc System Works aqui na Europa, e que conseguiram mais informações com eles e tal. Por causa que, tipo, e foi bem corrido, por causa que nas 3, 4 semanas antes do evento era, tipo, 5 ligações por semana pra ver o que eles tinham que fazer e tal. E que, tipo, como foi o primeiro evento do Arc Rainbow World Tour, muitas informações já estavam meio confusas, assim, tipo, os Estados Unidos falavam uma coisa e o Japão falava outra, e ficava meio na dúvida. E, tipo, ele falou que a P-Cube ajudou bastante, eles têm que explicar tudo que realmente ser feito e tal. E que isso foi também para os jogadores, porque quando o evento chegou a acontecer, ainda não tinha muita informação de como que você ia se qualificar para as finais, como que ia funcionar os pontos, quem poderia ganhar ponto, quem não poderia ganhar ponto. Então foi algo bem difícil até para os jogadores e também para eles, para organizar nesse sentido, tipo, foi como o primeiro evento. Ainda estava tendo muita coisa acontecendo assim de testes e tal, mas também eles conseguiram se organizar para fazer isso. E que também uma das coisas que foi bem ruim, assim, que a regra inicial da Arc World Tour era que era para ser melhor de 3 as partidas, que era tipo, quem ganhava 2 já qualificava, já ia para a próxima luta. E que, tipo, e todo mundo na comunidade de BlazBlue Prospect Bar, principalmente esse do BlazBlue, queria que fosse melhor de 5. Por causa que, tipo, o jogo é um jogo que faz mais sentido você ter que ganhar 3, em vez de ganhar apenas 2. Mas a regra inicialmente era que era melhor de 3. Aí o Revolution foi com o melhor de 3, fez melhor de 5. Aí logo depois que acabou, eles colocaram que a regra seria melhor de 5. Então foi meio ruim isso. E foi meio pesado de forma, mas só que, tipo, a P-Cube ajudou bastante eles no começo a fazer um bom evento. E que eles trabalharam mais com a P-Cube do que com a Arc System em si, porque, tipo, foi mais um contato com a P-Cube do que com a Arc System em específico.
Awesome.
Next question. This is a big one.
Oh boy.
No passado, os jogos da FGC que mais faziam sucesso eram jogos da Capcom e um pouco mais de Tekken. E nos últimos 2 anos, mais ou menos, os jogos anime e os jogos 3D começaram a crescer em popularidade. Então, como um organizador focado mais em jogos de anime, o que você pensa sobre esse crescimento? In the past, the biggest games for the FGC were the Capcom games and Tekken. But in the past 2 years, other games grew in popularity, and now anime games and King Fighters as a whole have more spotlight. As an organizer focusing on anime titles, what do you think of the growth?
It's strange actually, because I'm going to be really controversial here, and I actually believe that the popularity is more of a flash in the pan. Because the thing is that the popularity happens occasionally, but it's not consistent. So at the end of the day, you can always rely on Street Fighter and Tekken to pull whatever numbers, because they're really popular. And to even more extent than Smash. But Smash is a completely different ballgame that we're not going to get into, because Smash is just no. But to be honest with you, like Dragon Ball Z Fighters, for example, everyone was really hyped for it last year at EVO. It proved ridiculous numbers, it was crazy. And you look at it this year, it's completely fallen off. This year has been the rise of Under Night. Again, once it will hit EVO, people are getting into it and stuff like that. They're saying, "No, this is an amazing game" and stuff like that, blah blah blah. When people have been saying that for like a year and a half anyway, and then it will fall off after EVO most probably. Like the fact that more games are popular are good, because I think the biggest issue with a lot of the popular games is that a lot of people's mentality on how to play those games are, if it doesn't play like those two, aka Street Fighter or Tekken or anything close to that, then it's not worth then that affects their decision on any other game. So they see something in Blaze Blue and they think that should not happen. And it's like, why? Because in Street Fighter this happens, and it's like, well, you can't relate the two, sort of thing. So I think more games, I think if more people played more games, then that improves everybody's ability to play games. So I think it's good. But in terms of the consistency of how many games are popular, I don't think it's too much of a consistent thing. Yeah, it's just like a good example is that we've had an uptick in players. We've had an uptick in players, but for all three, well, obviously, actually not all four, three. BB tag doesn't count, but for both Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear, we had less signups than last year. No, we had less signups than the year before, which is strange, sort of thing. So I think while there's more players, I don't think it's really weird how it's working, and it doesn't help that in terms of anime games, BBCF is in a situation where people don't really want to learn the Izanami matchup anymore. And in Guilty Gear, no one can stand Rev 2. so we've been in a bit of a difficult position. So where the most popular anime games are not really well liked, but stuff like Under Night is taking its place. The people think reasons why people don't like Blaze Blue and Guilty Gear is happening to Dragon Ball now, because people have had enough of the way the meta works in that game. So I think there'll always be a rotation of something new. So it'll be Samurai Shodown this year, and then it'll be something else the year after.
Maybe Grand Blue Fantasy.
Yeah, Grand Blue Fantasy. Oh, man, I have no idea with that game. I have no idea with that game. We'll just have to wait till it comes out. So we'll see.
Okay. So I'm gonna say in a different order, like.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Então, ele acha que é uma coisa boa assim, que tenha mais jogos sendo jogados, porque na época que, por exemplo, só tinha, o pessoal tinha mais foco no Street Fighter, no Tekken, por exemplo, em jogos maiores, era ruim para os jogos menores, porque quando eles iam tentar testar um jogo com o BlazBlue, eles achavam que tipo, todos os jogos tinham que jogar estilo BlazBlue, estilo Street Fighter, por exemplo. Então, se alguma coisa acontecesse no BlazBlue e não desse certo, se alguma coisa acontecesse no BlazBlue e não der certo, o cara fala, num jogo não devia ser assim. A pessoa fala, por quê? Porque não é igual ao Street Fighter. Então, ele acha que é uma boa, mais pessoas estão jogando mais jogos, porque isso aumenta a habilidade das pessoas de jogar jogos no geral, e que não fica mais aquela visão de que tipo, todo jogo luta tem que ser igual ao Street Fighter, tem que ser igual ao Tekken. Mas ao mesmo tempo, tipo, agora falando em termos de popularidade, ele acha que tipo, a popularidade de jogos anime eles estão crescendo mais, só que não é algo consistente como o Street Fighter e o Tekken. Porque o Street Fighter e o Tekken, em qualquer momento, qualquer ano que você pega assim, na história da comunidade de luta, tem bastante gente jogando, tem tipo, muitas pessoas participando, interessadas em conversar e tal. Sendo que nos jogos, por exemplo, anime, você tem às vezes um boom de um jogo fazer bastante sucesso e depois ele decair. Então, por exemplo, Dragon Ball FighterZ ano passado, na EVO, ele foi um dos maiores jogos, teve mais inscritos do que o Street Fighter, e esse ano, por exemplo, já decaiu bastante. O interesse pelo jogo já decaiu bastante, por aí vai. O Under Night in Birth, por exemplo, esse é o ano do Under Night in Birth, tá crescendo bastante, mas ao mesmo tempo, tipo, depois da EVO pode acontecer de o jogo decair bastante. O próprio torneios dele, que ele fala em comparação, por exemplo, o Revolution, no ano de 2018 tem menos inscritos no BlazBlue e no Guilty Gear do que no ano anterior, em 2017. Então, isso pode ser também devido ao fato que muita gente jogando BlazBlue com Stack Bar ou Dragon Ball FighterZ. Pode ser que depois o pessoal acabe voltando para esses jogos, mas, por exemplo, no BlazBlue o pessoal não tem muito mais interesse de ficar aprendendo matchup. E no Guilty Gear Rev 2, tipo, o jogo já tá há tanto tempo aí que o pessoal tá ficando cansado de jogar o mesmo jogo, o mesmo Guilty Gear várias vezes. Então, tipo, ele acha que tem um crescimento, tipo... É bom esse crescimento dos jogos anime, mas que não é tão consistente quanto o crescimento do Street Fighter ou Tekken. Então, tipo, as popularidades pode decair, não vai ficar lá pra sempre, digamos assim. E...
Okay.
Do you want to say anything else?
So it's like the final words thing?
Yeah, final words. That's it. Agora a gente vai falar, tipo, alguma coisa mais que queira acrescentar. So, any final word?
Basically, I appreciate everyone that comes through the door for any of our events. Like, I'm really pleased to see anybody, regardless of what games they play. I really don't care. If they only play Street Fighter and they come here just to play whatever, then I'm fine with it. Like, it's not really a problem. All I'll say is that for people that like only play one game, just spend some time playing. Just not playing. You should watch other games and see if you like them and stuff like that. Don't be afraid to branch out. The last thing is that I'm going to tell a small story about last year, Revo last year. What happened about Revo last year? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, what happened? I never really gave much information on it. But basically, what happened is that I bought a venue and I spent roughly $3,500 on a venue, and it was supposed to come with air conditioning, satellite-based events, internet, all this other stuff, blah 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 blah. I was scammed out of that, and then basically the landlords removed us, told us to leave the premises, but I found out from the police later on that it was actually illegal for the landlord to remove us.
What?
So he has to contact his tenant to remove us, but his tenant was abroad at the time. So technically we had no right to, we didn't have to move. Because when I spoke to the police, they said what should have happened is that I should have called the police on the landlord, so we didn't have to move. So yeah, it was quite funny actually. But what happened is that we moved to here and everything worked out somehow. But yeah, the venue, the tenant contacted me the next morning and said it was unfortunate that your event fell through, but you didn't tell me that there'll be more than 90 people in the venue, even though his event space was advertised at 250. Go figure. The good thing is that we did get our money back, which was nice.
So you managed to get the money back?
Yes, we managed to get the money back. So that's the reason why that camera's there. So yeah, we actually spent most of it in broadcasting equipment. We spent most of it on. We spent some of it. We funded quite a few people as well. So some of the pocket players and stuff. And what we've done is that we've saved some of that money to do stuff in events. Like, for example, we did the Cydia event in January. And what we did was just ended up buying lunch for everybody and stuff, and other bits and pieces. So we're starting to do more like that. So yeah, all of the money that we get. Oh, also another thing, all the money that we get from our events, no one in our team gets paid unless it's an external person doing work. But all of the money goes towards streaming equipment, monitors, new games for the setups and stuff, because we have universal accounts on for certain games, and stuff to try and improve the event. So there you go.
Então ele começou falando que ele agradece o pessoal que comparece em eventos, mesmo que não só para um jogo, ele realmente gosta, todo mundo que comparece, ele não se importa qualquer jogo, o pessoal vem para jogar. E que ele acha que o pessoal podia dar uma chance mais para jogos diferentes, conhecer algum jogo novo, assistir assim o existente dos jogos e ver os outros jogos e quem sabe dar uma chance. E ele quis falar em específico sobre o Revolution do ano passado, que foi um evento que teve um problema aqui no primeiro dia. Teve um problema que ele teve que sair do evento, por causa que falaram que assim, quando ele alugou o espaço, falaram que ia ser um espaço com ar-condicionado, com uma qualidade de internet boa, poder fazer os streams e tal. Aí chegou lá no dia, eles descobriram que era um macete da pessoa, que macetaram ele, e que na verdade o cara meio que saiu com dinheiro, fugiu com dinheiro, que não tinha nada daquilo, e os donos verdadeiros do espaço pediram pra gente sair pra ir pra um outro local. Aí acabaram encontrando esse local aqui, que é o que a gente está aqui no momento, que é o funcionamento aqui. E depois ele acabou descobrindo, conversando com a polícia, que na verdade os caras que eram donos do espaço não podiam remover a gente de lá, que na verdade a polícia tinha que chegar lá e conversar, mas que eles não tinham direito, legalmente falando, de removerem eles, que era uma coisa que a polícia tinha que resolver. E que tinha que entrar em contato com quem vendeu lá no servidor. Então, tipo, teve vários macetes disso, mas só que no fim eles conseguiram recuperar o dinheiro. E que eles gastaram dinheiro, por exemplo, comprar essa câmera que está usando para gravar aqui essa entrevista, e que eles usam bastante o dinheiro que eles ganham com os eventos para melhorar os eventos em si, comprar mais equipamento para stream, acaba melhorando os espaços, que fazem alguns torneios diferentes, por exemplo, o torneio de Cydia em janeiro eles conseguiram fazer com o dinheiro que eles conseguem nos eventos, que nenhum dos organizadores é pago com o evento, que a não ser que esteja fazendo um trabalho externo, e que eles acabam usando isso mais para melhorar o evento, porque eles acabam pagando um almoço, às vezes, de algumas pessoas, os participantes, e que acabam conseguindo um espaço melhor, um equipamento melhor, e comprando jogos diferentes, e por aí vai. So, I think that's it.
Okay, cool, no problem.
Do you want to say something else?
Shout outs to everyone that watches our stuff. A shout out to you for always coming to our events almost every single time. It's amazing. And at Sakura Fight Fest, shout outs to the owner of the venue, lovely guy. And East London Fighters for helping us, supporting us with equipment and as well, and band people, and basically just keep playing games.
Eu gostaria de agradecer a todo mundo que assiste os eventos, todo mundo que comparece nos eventos. Gostaria de agradecer ao dono do local, que sempre colaborou bastante. E é isso, continuem jogando jogos que vocês gostam e curtindo videogames. É isso.
Take care. All good.